What? Oh, okay, here we are. I thought it wasn't live for a moment. Hey there, everybody. As always, on this, the first Sunday, depending on where you are in the world, it's the first Sunday of spring or the first Sunday of autumn, depending on what hemisphere you're in on the planet. Peace and love to everybody. I'm Royce Fletcher Thompson, and we're back for another Sunday Hope and Healing session. We're always glad to be here with you. Endeavoring to offer encouragement and insights. What we're really all about doing is endeavoring to help whoever wants it to have greater peace, greater well-being, healing. We do that through the things that I share, from things that I've found have been useful in my own life journey and that have really helped me along the way, and I endeavor to give back and share some of those things that made a difference for me. And also we do actual healing through a methodology referred to as transcending the matrix, which is a really powerful methodology. And you see scrolling on the bottom of the screen, anybody who's interested in transcending the matrix, feel free to reach out to me. It's rolling on the bottom of the screen how you can do that. Royce Fletcher Thompson or Transcending the Matrix on YouTube or Instagram. And so greetings to you this Sunday morning, or Sunday morning where you are as well. Curly Conscious King, hope that life is finding you well, in good health, good spirits. And to everyone else as well, hope the same for you. And so what our topic for today is, and we're going to definitely be doing some healing regarding this. And I want to kind of set this up a little bit first. This year will mark 30 years that I've been in ministry. And I've been fortunate to be able to encounter and even teach, if you will, people from many, many different religious backgrounds. And I'm thankful for the privilege of being able to do that. And, you know, one of the things that is an unfortunate fact is that throughout human history, many wars have been waged over. Greetings, Suni Maria. Good to see your comment in the space today as well. And so thank you, Curly Conscious King. There are a lot of wars that have been waged over religion. It's happening right now. And as a matter of fact, there has never been a point during the time I've been on the earth that hasn't been the case, right? Religion is not a bad thing. Religion is not a bad thing. God is good. And that is unequivocally true. Human beings were made in the image and likeness of God. Human beings have also forgotten to a very large degree who it is that we really are. We have forgotten the divinity that exists within us. And instead of us having been made in the image and likeness of God, what we have done and really leaning into that, what we have done is we have, in our consciousness, created a perspective of God in our own frailties and insecurities and deficiencies of character. And so there are billions of people on the planet that have different religious beliefs and different perspectives. And many of those, some were started by a single person, like Christianity and Buddhism, Sikhism, um, Confucianism. Several have been started by a specific single individual, and some have just kind of evolved over time. You know, but not much different from science. Religion has always endeavored to help human beings understand that which has been difficult for people to understand. A way to explain that which is difficult to explain and that which is difficult to comprehend. The mysteries of existence. We've been trying to figure it out, right, over the process of time. And because of the way that things happen when it is that we come to forget who it is that we really truly are, as beings of pure consciousness, beings of pure love and divine light, when we forget who it is that we really are, and we start to identify ourselves instead of from the place of our authentic divinity, and start identifying ourselves according to the ego self, or the sense of separate self, we then start losing track more and more of who it is that we really are and who it is that everybody else is and who God is. We lose track of all of that. And there are all these wonderful things that have been placed. We were placed in an environment where we could choose one thing over another thing. The reality is that God placed us in an environment that there's beauty. Everything that God made is beautiful. Everything that God made is good. And in our sense of separate self, the part of us that tries to edge God out, and that part of us exists within all of us, we take that which is good and beautiful and pure, and we debase it, right? We take religion, which is designed to help us gain an understanding of that which is incomprehensible. We take religion and that which is designed to help us get in touch with our true self, that which is designed to help us tap into the truth of who it is that we really are and the truth of who it is that everyone else is, under the great auspices of divinity itself, a divinity that we can't in our egoic minds even begin to comprehend. And then we take that and we use low vibrational thought forms and low vibrational energy to take and try to manipulate things. We take the sacred scriptures and we try to use it for our own benefit. You know, in seminary, there's a term called exegesis. To exegete the text is to really get into what the scripture says and to really immerse oneself in it and try to draw out what it is that it is saying. Now, there's another term which is the exact opposite of it, and that's try to place on scripture what one already thinks or what one wants to use to convey whatever it is that they're wanting to convey, right? Like using the Bible as justification for the mistreatment of women, or justification to hold people in slavery. There was recently, you know, a person who did this as a member of the United States government, uh, who, who publicly was trying to utilize biblical scripture to kind of justify slavery. There's all kind of things that human beings will do. People would love is something that was created by God. People will take that and use that to manipulate people. Okay. Sex was created by God. People will take, but it's supposed to be shared in the spirit of love. But people have taken that and used it as a way of fulfilling their own desires with no interest or concern about how it may be affecting somebody else. Right? I could go on and on down the list. But what I want to get at and what today's focal point is, and this is why we're here in this earth realm, endeavoring to remember who it is that we truly are and get to what is really at the heart of the matter, beyond all of the distractions and things that are presented in life. And that's to activate the temple in the heart. To activate the temple in the heart and truly get to the heart of God, to truly find God in one's heart in a very real and tangible way. Scriptures say that God is love, and they that dwell in love dwell in God. Years ago, I said it would be 30 years in ministry for me this year. Some of you know this, some of you don't, that I'd actually been kicked out of seminary. I was kicked out of seminary. They were concerned that I was kind of ruffling some feathers, and I wasn't like trying to ruffle any feathers. But I was just endeavoring to be authentic in my relationship with God. Okay. In retrospect, I could have been wiser in how I approached some things. I could have been wiser in how I approached some things, but around that time, before then and after then, like there was a period in my life where all I was doing was praying, meditating, studying, and doing what I considered to be spiritual exercises. I would put water in a bowl and see if I can make the water in the bowl ripple with my mind. Or I put something on a string, see if I can make it move. There are things in scriptures of various religious texts that talk about these fantastical kind of things. And I thought that was, at some point, I thought that was spiritual, right? And it has its place. I've been doing this healing work for a long time. And, I initially thought that the healing was the miracle, because certainly people have experienced what's considered medical miracles. But the healing of somebody's body, those are just signs and wonders. They're signs and wonders to get people's attention to really tap into the real miracle. And what is the real miracle? The real miracle is a changed heart. The real miracle is a changed heart. That's why scriptures say that God doesn't look at people the way that people look at people, because people look at people based on the appearances. But what is it that God looks at? God looks at the heart. God looks at the heart. As a person thinks in their heart, so are they. The scriptures tell us. Okay? It's also why the scriptures say that if you're about to give an offering to God, but you have an issue with your brother or sister, first go and get things right with your brother or sister in creation, not necessarily a blood relative, although it could be that. And then bring your offering. Okay. We have a lot of situations where people are behaving ill towards other people based on what their belief system is, based on what their ethnicity is, based on what language they speak, based on what where their homeland was, based on their gender, based on their sexual orientation, based on their political affiliation or ideology. And the scriptures tell us that if you say that you love God, but you hate your brother or sister in creation, then you're actually lying. You can't love God and hate whom God has made. Okay? Now, it's sometimes easy for us to point the finger at people who behave in ways that we can easily identify as hateful. And yet, do we also have some things in our heart that need to be purified regarding how it is that we view other people? How is it that you're viewing the person who is clearly the person who's the bigot, the person who's the misogynist, the person who's the racist, the person who's the homophobic individual? Clearly that person has some stuff going on in their heart, but do you have some things going on in your heart regarding those people who are cruel towards the other people? Because if that is the case, while it may not be to the same intensity, that same vibration is still there. And that vibration, if you're locked into that vibration, there's a gap between where it is that you are and where it is that you could be in terms of evolving as a spiritual being, as a being of pure love and divine light, because that's what you are. Nothing can ever change that. Nothing can ever change that. All right. And so what we need to do individually and what we need to do collectively is to really activate the temple in the heart. There's no true authentic worship of God. There's no true and authentic honor and praise of God. That doesn't happen from the heart. And there's no true and authentic honoring of God if we can't honor the presence of God in other people, including the people that you might not necessarily like on the level of personality, including the person who stands on the opposite side of an issue that you do, including the person, the politician who you feel like is making poor decisions and negatively impacting other people. Now, I'm going to tell you, we don't have a ton of people watching this video right now. And I understand that. I wouldn't expect that there would be a whole lot of folk watching this. However, the people who are, I believe, are choosing to be present for an appointment with another destiny, right? And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to clear up some stuff that may be going on in our hearts. Some things that we might have that we're carrying within us. Clearing those things out so that we can activate the temple in the heart. Because with the temple, if the temple in the heart isn't activated, it doesn't matter what church, what synagogue, what mosque, what temple you go to. But with the heart activated, With a heart truly activated, you can find God in the church. You can find God in the mosque. You can find God in the synagogue. You can find God in the temple. You can find God in the grocery store. You can find God on a busy highway street. You can find God in the face of children. You can find God in the face of the older people. You can find God in the person who is behaving as if they're filled with hate. You can find God anywhere and everywhere if you're able to activate the temple of the heart, getting truly to the heart of God and then existing in a state of perpetual worship from that space. All right, so we're going to get into some heart temple activation today. Are you with it? Can you go for that today? All right. God, I know you to be a healer. And through the union that we share through the power of pure love, the I am within me is demonstrating you as a healer on behalf of, if you want to receive this healing, state your name, whether out loud or silent. For the purpose of activating the temple in the heart, so that you may truly be fully alive in our hearts, and that we might operate even while we're in this earth realm from a place that exudes your heart. And your heart is only love, not a love that's based on conditions, not a love that's based on one's confession, not a love that's based on what religion we claim, on none of those conditions, but a love that is based on you being pure love that can't be measured, that can't be earned, and that there's nothing that we can do to make it go away. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right, so let's look at some of the things that some barriers that we might have placed around our heart. Barriers that we might have placed around our hearts based on, really, frankly, what we learned from other people, from the barriers that they placed around their hearts. Let's transmute that. And let's look at our perceived need to have those barriers around our hearts. Sometimes we have barriers around our hearts because we think that that's the strong thing to do. Because we think that if we don't have a barrier around our heart protecting us, then that we'll be hurt. And if we're being hurt, that means that we're soft somehow. Okay. You know, the water can be both powerful and gentle. So it strengthens us to be able to Strengthen us to be able to place our trust where the trust is truly warranted. Okay. All right. So looking at where we've placed our trust in, sometimes we place our trust in our ability to control situations. Sometimes we place our trust in how masterful we might be at manipulating people or situations. And clear all that out. All right. Sometimes we place our trust in, the systems of this world. Sometimes we place our trust in money. Okay. Sometimes we place our trust in a piece of metal that we might carry around in an effort to protect ourselves. Okay. Sometimes we may place our trust in a lot of different things outside of ourselves. I want to strengthen all of us to be able to place our trust in the love, the power, and the grace of God. And the wisdom of God. I want to strengthen us to be able to allow good to make its way to us. Not to force it, but to allow it, to create space where it can make its way to us. All right. All right. Let's get back to these barriers because that's coming up again. So what are some of the barriers that we place around our hearts? Some of the barriers that we place around our hearts is the need to be right, manifests as the need to be right. And if you always need to be right, you're not making room for learning something new, not making room for grace for another person. Okay, but let's replace that with having the heart of innocence. Maybe some things have happened to you, and maybe you've done something that have caused you to have a feeling of a loss of innocence. We want to restore that sense of innocence, like the innocence of a child. Also, bearing with that innocence, a sense of divine wisdom. Divine wisdom that allows you to establish healthy boundaries without creating walls. Did you get that? To be able to establish healthy boundaries without creating walls. Okay. Now, let's strengthen us to be able to truly come to God with everything that's in us. All of the things that we like about ourselves, all the things that we like about other people, all the things that we don't like about other people, all the things that we don't like about ourselves, Strengthen us a little more for that. And to be truly intimate with God. Now, what's a barrier to intimacy? A barrier to intimacy is fear. The fear is usually a fear of being hurt. And may manifest as fear of rejection. We want to transmute that fear of rejection into openness to being fully accepted, to be fully seen and be fully accepted in being fully seen. Ooh, my goodness. Can you imagine what that would feel like to be fully seen for exactly who you are? All of the beautiful stuff and all of the stuff that you might not be so proud of, and to still be fully embraced for you. I want to strengthen us for that. Strengthen us to be able to feel a sense of security that is so strong that we can let all of our guard down and still be safe. And strengthen us to be able to have the wisdom of the heart activated in such a way that we can hear, receive, understand, and receive who it is that we need to give our energy to and who it is that we do not need to give our energy to. To see who it is that we can be vulnerable with and who it is that we ought not, let them into our inner circle. Now, it starts with being vulnerable with God. Is there anything that you can do that God doesn't see? There might be some things that you might wish that God didn't see, but is there anything that you can do that God doesn't see? Is there anything that you can think that God doesn't already know? Okay. There isn't any of it. Not a single thought, not a single word, not a single activity is outside of the scope of God's awareness. And so it's okay to talk with God about the things that you feel ashamed about. I want to strengthen us for that. You see, what happens with people is that when we do something that we feel ashamed of, instead of running to God, we run away from God. That's the egoic self, trying to get us further away from our center, where we can listen to those other voices. But there's a voice that says, "Come to me, just as you are." And the places of brokenness that you operate from, you are merely operating from places of brokenness. Come back to me so I can make you whole. It is not my desire to judge you. It is not my desire to punish you. It is my desire to bring you back home to the truth of who you really are. It is my desire to heal the things in you that are broken. It is my desire to remove the scales from your eyes that you can truly see. It is my desire to transform your mind so that you can have a true understanding. You can have a true overstanding. It is my desire to help you to understand what it is to be deeply and completely accepted just the way that you are. And because that acceptance is so deep and so profound, then you no longer feel a need to do all of these other things to punish yourself. Because even when you're judging other people, you're punishing yourself. Even when you're doing things to try to get back at other people, you're punishing yourself. Even when you are withholding love from someone else, you're punishing yourself. Even when you have thoughts that you're thinking that are unkind towards other people, you're punishing yourself, but you don't have to punish yourself. When the temple of the heart is activated within you, and you truly find the presence of God there, and you've tapped into the heart of God within your own heart, because the essence of your own heart is the heart of God. And when you're able to tap into your own essence, which is to say, when you're able to tap into the essence of God, then the other things begin to melt away. The other things begin to melt away. And like Miss Lauryn Hill said, nothing really matters. None of the other stuff really matters. So I want to strengthen us to be able to transcend all the stuff that weighs us down, that stresses us out, and that keeps us separated from one another. Thank you, God. I want to strengthen us to be able to lay down our biases. Strengthen us to be able to lay down our shame. Strengthen us to be able to trust love. Not the what was that song? Tainted Heart. Tainted Love is maybe the song. I'm not talking about a tainted love. Michael Jackson said that I've been a victim of a selfish love. I'm not talking about a selfish love, because those things aren't really love. They're a form of love, but not really love, not in its essence. Okay. I'm going to ask right now in this moment that you welcome in more fully the light of God's love into your heart. And see that light beginning to radiate more and more brightly right in your own heart. And from that light that's radiating with infinite brightness and infinite purity in your heart, let that expand from your heart through your shoulders, on your arms, and into your hands, so that you're able to work from a place of love. That make its way up through your throat and up to your mouth, so that you may speak in the ways of love, and so that your every word might be tempered with love rather than being tainted with fear and with anger and with hostility. See that light, that pure, infinitely pure, divine, bright light in your heart, making its way up to your eye, so that everything that you look at, you're looking through the lenses of love. Whether you're looking at a child who you perceive as innocent and that anyone could perceive as innocent, or whether you're looking at a person that you've come to not care very much for. But may that pure, infinitely bright light radiating from your heart make its way up to your eyes, so that everything that you see might be filtered through love. Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, said that if your eye is single, to be single doesn't mean alone. To be single means to be whole. To be single means to be non-fragmented or non-fractured. To be single means to be whole. If your eye is whole, in other words, if you're seeing things clearly, then your whole body will be filled with light. Sickness and dis-ease, whether it comes in the form of cancer or depression or war, all of those things are forms of dis-ease, and so many other things are forms of dis-ease. The dis-ease is merely an absence of light. And that's all darkness is. Darkness isn't a thing unto itself, it's the absence of light. Evil isn't a thing unto itself, it's just lived backwards. It's just that we've missed the mark somewhere along the way, and maybe going in the polar opposite direction of how it is that we were divinely designed according to God's brilliant blueprint. Okay. And so I want to strengthen us. To be able to let that pure love fill our heart and expand down our legs and into our feet, so that we walk in love. Jacob, one who stole his brother Esau's blessing. He was the youngest of two twins, and the oldest would be the one to receive the father's blessing. In this case, his father's was Isaac. And his brother Esau was the one who was due for the blessing. Jacob, by the way, means supplanter, it means trickster. And he and his mother did something to kind of trick the father so that he would be the one to receive the father's blessing, this significant and important blessing. And when his brother Esau found out about it, he was quite upset, as you might imagine, right? And so he left where he was. He ended up sleeping on a rock, which is to say that he was in a state where he was brought to a place of uncomfortability. He couldn't rest in the place where he was, operating from the place that he was operating from. And the way the scripture said that he wrestled with an angel through the night. What is it that he actually wrestled with? What is it? An angel is a messenger of God. So there was a message that he was wrestling with. God was speaking with him. God was dealing with him. His own conscience was dealing with him. His own higher self was dealing with him. He couldn't get away from it. And, it said that the angel said, let me go. And Jacob replied, nope, not until you bless me. In other words, he was in a situation where he was wrestling with himself. He was wrestling with some things within himself in terms of making things right. And it was said that he was asked, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. He said, from now on, your name shall be called Israel. Now, I'm not making a statement about what is referred to as a country right now under that same name is necessarily operating in righteousness. Like I said earlier, there are all of these things that God made good, but that human beings in our limited consciousness and in our thwarted, tainted consciousness, we make low. We make something less than what it was originally designed to be. And so what Israel actually means is the one who sees and understands God. The one whose eye is single, one whose eye is whole, one whose perception is divinely aligned, and whose body is filled with light. And so when the one who had been operating as a trickster, as a supplanter, had been wrestling with these aspects within himself, and there were aspects of him that were trying to decide whether he was going to go with his ego self or whether he was going to go with his divine self. End up experiencing a changing of his name, if you will, where he got to the point where he was seeing things differently. And it says that his hip or his thigh was knocked out, and then he ended up walking with, the way that it's written is like he's walking with a limp. But the truth of the matter is, what it's getting at is he couldn't walk the same way he used to walk before. He couldn't move in life the same way that he was moving before. He couldn't operate the same way that he was operating before, because he let the light get into his heart and make its way down his legs and into his feet, so that he was able to walk more fully from a place of love. And I'm not going to tell you that he was there for the rest of his life, because he still had some mix-ups and some trip-ups. And really, I'm not just speaking about a single human being. I'm speaking about you, and I'm speaking about me, because his story is our story. We all have this aspect within us that is endeavoring to take us away from who it is that we're divinely designed to be. And we endeavor to take these shortcuts where we're manipulating things to try to work the way that we think that they need to work out, rather than really truly tapping in to the source of all wisdom, the source of all life, the source of all love, the source of all light. But this thing right here, this heart, that's where true religion really happens. And while we can go to a mosque, we can go to a temple, we can go to a synagogue, we can go to a church, we can go to a hilltop, we can go to the water, we can go wherever, we can go to Machu Picchu, we can go to the Great Pyramid, we can go to all of these different places on the planet, right? But the key is that we go here to the heart and we get this right. Let the temple of our heart be activated so that we can truly live as who it is that we really are and who we were divinely designed to be. You can't stop being who you are. You can just act like you're something other than who you are. But you don't have to put on that. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And if you choose to do differently, you can experience a whole nother level of peace, a whole nother level of joy, a whole nother level of well-being. God, thank you for the bit of healing that's gone forth today. May within each of us, may we come to find you in our hearts, and may we find ourselves in your heart. And as we find ourselves in your heart, may we recognize that we're not alone. May we find that the people that we love are also in your heart. The people that have looked out for us are also there in your heart. The people who've had our backs have also been found to be in your heart. And as we continue looking from a place of sober-mindedness and clear vision, we can see that the people that we've been angry with, the people who've been angry with us, are also in your heart. The people that we consider our enemies are also in your heart. And so we remember that if there's no enemy outside, we're in trouble if there's an enemy inside of us. But if there's no enemy inside, what anyone might perceive as an enemy outside of us can do us no harm. And we might come to a point where we truly love ourselves so much as a function of loving you so much that we can love others so much that they can love themselves so much that they can't help but to loving us too. Because we will have become free of all of the barriers to the awareness of love's presence. And for this, oh God, we give great thanks. We affirm it is done. It is done. It is done. Well, beloved, that wraps us up for today. You may have noticed along the bottom of the screen, we've got a Transcending the Matrix class/initiation coming up in just about 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Yeah, 3 weeks. April 10th through the 12th. I would love to share what it is I've been blessed with you. I've seen it make a huge difference in my life. I've seen it make a huge difference in many other people's lives as well. If that's something that interests you, reach out to me, Royce Fletcher Thomason, on Facebook or Instagram. And as we continue to endeavor to enter into the sustainable state of supreme satisfaction, until we meet again, peace and love. I'll catch you next time.